Welcome, friends. Tonight, we journey into the mist-veiled mountains of Albania, a land where every stone, river, and forest seems to whisper a story. Here, legends are not just told, they live. In quiet villagers of stone and wood, by fires that glow against the chill of dusk, tales have been passed down for centuries, of dragons who battled in the skies, of spirits who shaped the fate of mortals, and of gods whose names linger like echoes carved into rock. Close your eyes and let the world around you fade. Imagine the scent of pine carried on the mountain wind, the flicker of a hearth's flame casting soft shadows, and the low hum of a ballad older than memory. Together, we'll wander through valleys where the aura of destiny still weave invisible threads, where the Zana guard their crystal springs, and where the Kulshedra shadow still seems to stir in the clouds. This is the story of Albanian mythology, dragons, mountain spirits, and hidden gods, a tale both haunting and gentle, waiting to be heard once more in the quiet of the night. The high peaks of Albania. Imagine for a moment that you are floating. You are not in your room, but suspended in the cool, clean air above a land of dramatic and ancient stone. Below you, the world is a fortress of nature's own making. These are the Albanian Alps, known to those who live here as the Accursed Mountains. But their name is not a sign of evil. It is a sign of respect, of awe for their untamable raw power. The mountains rise from the earth not in gentle slopes, but in jagged, formidable peaks of gray limestone that claw at the sky, their summits often lost in a shroud of thick white cloud, as if the heavens themselves are resting upon them. This is a landscape carved by deep time, by glaciers and by water, leaving behind a world of stark and breathtaking beauty. The light here is different. In the morning, it catches the eastern faces of the peaks, turning them a pale rose color. At midday, the sun is sharp and bright, making the gray stone almost white. And in the evening, the shadows that fall are long and deep, filling the valleys with a cool blue darkness. This is not a gentle, rolling land. It is a land of verticals. Deep, V-shaped valleys have been cut by rivers over millennia. The water in these rivers is impossibly clear and cold, a vibrant turquoise or a deep emerald green, fed by the melting snows of the high peaks. The sound of this water is a constant presence, a distant, gentle roar from the valley floor, a soft gurgle from a small spring emerging from the rock beside you. The forests that cling to the lower slopes are thick and ancient. Beech, fir, and pine trees grow in dense groves, their roots gripping the thin soil. The air within these forests is cool and smells of damp earth, of pine needles, and of decay. Sunlight struggles to pierce the canopy, dappling the forest floor in shifting patterns of light and shadow. To walk here is to feel a sense of being watched, not by anything menacing, but by the quiet, ancient life of the trees themselves. And clinging to these formidable slopes, nestled in the pockets of the valleys, are the villages. They do not dominate the landscape, they are a part of it. The houses are built from the very stone of the mountains, their gray walls and slate roofs almost indistinguishable from the surrounding rock. They seem to grow from the earth itself. Thin plumes of wood smoke rise from their chimneys, the only sign of human life from a distance. These are places of isolation, of resilience, of lives lived in tune with the harsh rhythms of the seasons. This landscape is the cradle of Albanian mythology. The myths were not invented in comfortable cities or quiet libraries. They were born here, in the shadow of these peaks, by people whose lives were shaped by the mountains' moods. The sudden, violent thunderstorms that roll through the valleys were not just weather, they were battles between celestial beings. The strange rock formations on a high ridge were not just geology, they were petrified giants or cursed lovers. The deep, dark caves that pockmark the limestone cliffs were not just holes in the ground, they were gateways to another world. The eagle, the symbol of Albania, is at home here. You can imagine seeing one, soaring effortlessly on the thermal currents rising from the valleys. It circles high above, a silent, watchful master of this domain. To the people below, the eagle is more than a bird. It is a symbol of freedom, of pride, of a spirit as untamable as the mountains themselves. The very air you are breathing in this imagined place feels ancient. It is the same air that filled the lungs of Illyrian tribesmen thousands of years ago. It is the same wind that carried the whispers of their gods. This land does not forget. The stories are etched into the stone. They flow with the rivers. They are held in the roots of the ancient trees. So, as you begin your journey into sleep, let this landscape be your guide. Picture these gray, silent peaks standing guard against the sky. Feel the cool, clean air on your skin. Hear the distant, gentle murmur of a river in a deep valley. There is no need to climb these mountains, no need to navigate their treacherous paths. You can simply float above them, observing their silent, timeless majesty. This is the stage upon which all the stories we are about to hear will be played. It is a world of stone and sky and spirit, and it is profoundly, deeply peaceful. Fireside Tales at Dusk. Let the vast, open expanse of the mountains recede, and allow your senses to narrow. You are no longer floating in the sky, but are coming to rest inside one of those stone houses you saw from above. You are in a kula, a traditional Albanian stone tower house, built for defense, but also for family. The walls are thick, the windows are small, and the world outside feels very far away. The sun has set. A deep, profound darkness has fallen over the mountains, a darkness unbroken by the lights of any city. The only light in this large central room comes from a single source, a fire burning in the hearth. The flames leap and dance, casting long, flickering shadows that move across the whitewashed stone walls. The air is filled with the warm, comforting smell of burning wood, of wood smoke, and perhaps of a simple stew simmering in a pot over the flames. You are not alone. In the soft, warm glow of the fire, a family is gathered. They have finished their evening meal. The children sit quietly on woolen rugs on the floor, their faces rapt with attention, their eyes wide in the firelight. The adults are seated on low benches, their work for the day done. And in the center of their attention, seated in a place of honor, is an elder, perhaps a grandfather, his face a roadmap of wrinkles, each one telling a story of a long life lived in these mountains. His voice is low and steady, a gentle rumble that fills the quiet room. He is not reading from a book. There are no books here. He is speaking from memory, from a vast and ancient library stored within his mind. He is a guardian of the oral tradition, a living link
in a chain of storytelling that stretches back for countless generations. The stories he tells are as much a part of this family's inheritance as the stone house they live in. He speaks of the Zana, the beautiful and fierce female spirits who protect the high springs and punish respectful hunters. As he describes their long golden hair, a log in the fire shifts, sending a shower of bright sparks up the chimney, and for a moment the children see the glint of that golden hair in the flames.
He tells the story of a great hero, a Drang, born with tiny wings under his arms, destined to fight the great serpent of the skies. His voice drops to a whisper as he describes the hero's secret birth, and the children lean in closer, holding their breath. When he describes the hero's battles, his voice does not become loud or dramatic. It remains a low, steady murmur, but the children can see the flash of lightning in his eyes, and they can hear the distant rumble of thunder in the rhythm of his words. These stories are not just entertainment, they are lessons. They teach courage and respect. They explain the unexplainable. Why did the spring suddenly run dry last summer? The Kulshedra, the great dragon, must have blocked its source. Why was the harvest so good this year? The village must have pleased the spirits of the land. The stories provide a framework for understanding a world that is often harsh and unpredictable. They give meaning to hardship and a reason for gratitude. The language he uses is old. It is filled with words and phrases that are not used in everyday conversation. It is a poetic, almost incantatory language, designed to be spoken aloud, to be heard, to be felt. The rhythm of his speech is hypnotic, a gentle, rocking cadence that is as comforting as a lullaby. The shadows on the wall dance as he speaks. A trick of the firelight turns a simple wooden post into the gnarled trunk of an ancient, enchanted tree. The darkness in the corners of the room seems deeper, and one can almost imagine a small, mischievous spirit peeking out. The world of myth is not a distant, imaginary place. In this room, at this moment, it is real. It is present. It is alive in the flickering light and the hushed silence. There is a profound sense of peace in this scene, a sense of safety and belonging. The world outside may be cold and dark, the mountains may be formidable, but here, inside, in the warm circle of the firelight, there is family, there is story, and there is a deep connection to the past. The elder's voice is a steady anchor in the vast ocean of the night. So let yourself settle into this quiet, firelit room. Feel the warmth of the hearth on your face. Listen to the gentle crackle of the logs, and let the low, steady murmur of the storyteller's voice be the only sound you need to focus on. You do not need to follow the details of the story. You do not need to remember the names of the heroes or the spirits. You only need to let the rhythm of his telling, the ancient and soothing cadence of a story told by firelight, wash over you and carry you gently down into a deep and dreamless sleep. The ancient roots of the myths. Let the image of the firelit room dissolve and allow your mind to drift deeper, not into a place, but into a time. Imagine the earth of this land as a deep, rich soil, composed of many layers. Each layer is a different era, a different people, a different set of beliefs. The stories you heard by the fire are like ancient trees, their roots reaching down through all these layers, drawing nourishment from each one. The deepest, most ancient layer is that of the Illyrians. They were the original inhabitants of this part of the Balkans, a collection of tribes who lived here for thousands of years before the arrival of the Greeks, the Romans, or the Slavs. We know very little about them. They left no great books of philosophy or history. Their story is written in fragments, in the remains of their hill forts, in the patterns on their pottery, and in a few names of gods carved into stone monuments. But their spirit, their way of seeing the world, forms the bedrock of Albanian mythology. The Illyrians were a people of the mountains and the forests. They saw the divine in the natural world. They worshipped a god of the sky and thunder, a goddess of the earth and fertility. They believed in spirits that inhabited springs and rivers. This deep, animistic connection to the landscape, the belief that every part of nature has a living spirit, is the most fundamental layer of these myths. The Zana of the mountains are the direct descendants of the nymphs the Illyrians worshipped. The Albanian word for god, perendi, is thought to derive from an ancient Illyrian sky god, just as Zeus and Jupiter were for the Greeks and Romans. Now, imagine a new layer settling upon this ancient bedrock. The Greeks arrive, with their colonies along the coast. They bring their own vibrant pantheon of gods and heroes. They bring stories of Zeus, the thunderer, of Artemis, the huntress, of nymphs and satyrs. These stories do not erase the Illyrian beliefs. They mingle with them. The Illyrian sky god starts to look a little more like Zeus. The local forest spirits might be seen as cousins to the Greek nymphs. It is a slow, unconscious blending, a conversation between two different ways of seeing the divine.
Then comes the next layer, a much heavier and more organized one: Rome. The Romans conquer the region, build roads in cities, and bring their own gods: Jupiter, Mars, Diana. The Roman gods are practical, state-sanctioned deities, but again, they do not simply replace the old ways. Instead, a process of syncretism occurs. The local Illyrian god of war might be worshipped under the Roman name of Mars. A local goddess of healing might be given the name Diana. On stone inscriptions, you might find a name like Mars Augustus, a blending of a Roman god, a Roman imperial title, and a local Illyrian deity whose original name is now lost to us. The roots of the old tree are now drawing from Roman soil as well. After the slow decline of Rome, another layer is added. Slavic tribes migrate into the Balkans, bringing their own rich folklore. They have their own forest spirits, the Vila, who share many characteristics with the Albanian Zana. They have their own stories of dragons and heroes. These tales are told in neighboring villages. They are shared by traveling merchants and shepherds. And again, they blend and influence the existing stories. The Albanian Kushedra, the great multi-headed dragon, shares features with dragons from Slavic and even more distant mythologies. The stories cross mountains and language barriers, borrowing details, adding new twists. Finally, the most recent and perhaps most transformative layer arrives: Christianity. For a time, it exists alongside the old pagan ways. Then, it becomes the dominant religion. The old gods are demonized, or more often absorbed. The ancient sky god who threw lightning bolts is replaced by Saint Elijah, who is said to ride a chariot of fire across the sky during thunderstorms. The rituals of an old agricultural goddess might be transferred to the Virgin Mary. A sacred spring, once home to a pagan nymph, becomes a holy well dedicated to a Christian saint, but people still visit it for healing, just as their ancestors did. The old tree is still growing, but now it has a cross carved into its trunk. The beliefs do not die. They simply put on new clothes. So when the elder by the fire tells a story, he is not telling a purely Albanian story. He is channeling all of these layers at once. The story of a hero fighting a dragon contains the ancient Indo-European myth of a storm god battling a serpent, filtered through Illyrian beliefs, colored by Slavic folklore, and perhaps given a Christian gloss where the hero fights for the faith. As you drift now, think of this deep, layered soil of myth. There is no need to untangle the roots, to figure out which belief came from where. Simply appreciate the richness and the complexity. It is a testament to the resilience of belief, the way stories adapt and survive, absorbing new influences without losing their ancient heart. Let this sense of deep, layered time be a comfort, a feeling of connection to a past that is not a straight line, but a rich and complex tapestry, woven together over thousands of years. And in that complexity, there is a profound and soothing peace.
The language of legends. Imagine you can see the words of the storyteller by the fire, not as text on a page, but as threads of light, spinning out from his mouth and weaving themselves into the minds of the listeners. These threads are ancient, their fibers spun from the very roots of the land. The Albanian language is a wonder of history. It is a branch of the Indo-European family tree all on its own, like Greek or Armenian. It has no close living relatives. It is believed to be the last surviving descendant of the ancient Illyrian language, a tongue that has been spoken in these mountains for at least 3,000 years. While it has borrowed many words from Latin, Greek, Slavic, and Turkish over the centuries, its core grammar and vocabulary remain unique, a linguistic fossil from a lost world. This language is the vessel that has carried the myths through time. The names of the creatures and spirits are not just labels, they are ancient words, heavy with meaning. The name Kushedra, the great dragon, is thought to come from an old phrase meaning stitched together udder, a strange and visceral image that speaks to its monstrous, unnatural form. The name Zana is believed to be connected to the ancient Illyrian goddess of the hunt, a linguistic echo of a forgotten deity. The word Drange, the dragon-slaying hero, has roots that might mean boy or lion, hinting at a primal, youthful strength. The myths live not just in grand epic tales, but in the small, everyday uses of the language. They are woven into lullabies, the ninula, that mothers sing to their babies. A lullaby might not tell the whole story of a Zana, but it might whisper, "Sleep, my little one, before the Zana comes," a gentle warning that instills a sense of the world's hidden spirits from the earliest age. The rhythm of the lullaby is soft and repetitive, a verbal rocking that has soothed generations of children to sleep with the myths in their ears.
The legends are also sung in the great epic songs, the Kung Kreshnikush, the songs of heroes. These are long narrative poems, traditionally sung by a male singer, accompanying himself on a single-stringed instrument called a lahuta. The sound of the lahuta is mournful and raw, a drone that seems to echo the wind whistling through the mountain passes. The singer does not just recite the words, he enters a kind of trance, his voice chanting the tales of heroes fighting on the frontier, of their magical horses, and of their encounters with the Zana, who both help and hinder them. To listen to these songs is to feel the heartbeat of the past. The language is archaic, the themes are ancient, and the performance is a living ritual that connects the present directly to a heroic, mythical age. The language of the myths is also found in the simple words of shepherds. A shepherd in the high pastures might have a special call for his flock, a wordless melody that has been passed down for centuries. He might have a specific name for a certain type of cloud that signals a storm, a name that connects that cloud to the Kolshedra. His vocabulary is a map of the landscape, both physical and mythical. And the language lives in curses and blessings. To bless someone, you might say, "May the aura be with you," invoking the spirits of fate.
To curse an enemy, you might whisper a phrase that calls upon a dark spirit to do them harm. These are not idle words. They are believed to have real power, to be able to shape reality. The words themselves are a form of magic. This ancient language, with its two main dialects, Gaig in the north and Tosk in the south, has been the shield that has protected Albanian culture and identity through centuries of foreign rule. While empires came and went, the language spoken by the hearth, in the pastures, and in the lullabies remained. It was a private world, a secret garden where the old stories could continue to grow, sheltered from the outside world. So as you drift deeper into rest, let the sound of this ancient language be a gentle, murmuring stream. You do not need to understand the meaning of the words. Just listen to their music. Listen to the soft cadence of a lullaby, the mournful drone of the lahuta, the steady rhythm of a story being told. This is the sound of survival. It is the sound of a people keeping their soul alive through the power of words. Let this ancient, unbroken thread of sound be the thing that ties you to a deep sense of peace and pulls you gently into the quiet of the night.
Spirits in the stones and rivers. For the people of these mountains, the world was not empty. Every part of it had its own presence, its own genius loci, or guardian spirit. This belief was not a complex theology, it was a simple, intuitive understanding, born from a life lived in intimate, daily contact with the raw power of nature. Imagine yourself walking along a narrow path beside a river. The water is a brilliant, churning turquoise, and it makes a constant low roar as it tumbles over white stones. To the ancient Albanian mind, that sound is not just the movement of water over rock, it is the voice of the river's spirit. The river is alive. It can be generous, providing water for the fields and fish for the table, but it can also be cruel, rising in a sudden, violent flood to sweep away homes and livestock. Therefore, the river must be treated with respect. You would not dump waste into it. You might leave a small offering on its bank, a wildflower, a piece of bread, a quiet acknowledgement of its power. You are in a relationship with the river, a relationship of respect and caution. Now your path takes you past a large, ancient oak tree standing alone in a meadow. Its branches are thick and gnarled, its bark is deeply furrowed, and it seems to radiate a silent, powerful presence. This is not just a tree. It is a sacred place. It is home to a spirit. Perhaps a wedding procession would circle this tree for good luck. Perhaps a sick person would tie a small strip of cloth to one of its branches, a silent plea for healing. To cut down such a tree without a very good reason would be unthinkable. It would be a violation, an act of disrespect that would surely bring misfortune. You continue walking as dusk begins to fall, and you see the dark mouth of a cave in the limestone cliff above you. The air around the entrance feels cool. A sense of deep mystery and fear emanates from that darkness. A cave is a powerful place. It is a wound in the side of the mountain, a gateway to the underworld, or to the hidden realm of the spirits. It might be the lair of a Kulshedra, or the secret home of a Zana. You would not enter such a place lightly. You would approach with caution, perhaps leaving an offering at its entrance. To venture inside is to leave the world of humans and enter the world of the spirits. And there is no guarantee you will be welcomed. Even the stones themselves are alive. A particularly large or unusually shaped boulder in a field is not just a rock.
It might be a marker of a sacred site, or a place where a spirit rests. Shepherds might know of certain stones that should not be touched, or of others that bring good luck if you leave a small pebble on top of them. The entire landscape is a text, filled with meaning and power, and the people who live here know how to read it. This belief extends to the home. The hearth, the center of the home, has its own guardian spirit. This spirit is a protector of the family and must be treated with reverence. The first bite of a meal might be tossed into the fire as an offering. The threshold of the house is also a sacred liminal space, a boundary between the safe, human world inside and the wild, spirit-filled world outside. A guest might be lifted over the threshold as a sign of respect to avoid disturbing the spirits that guard it. This worldview is not one of fear, but of profound respect and interconnectedness. It is the understanding that humans are not masters of the natural world, but are just one small part of a much larger, living community of beings, both seen and unseen. It fosters a sense of caution, of mindfulness, of paying attention to the world around you. So as you settle deeper into your rest, imagine yourself in this living landscape. Feel the silent presence of the ancient tree. Hear the whisper of the river's spirit. Sense the deep mystery of the dark cave. You are surrounded by a world that is awake and aware. There is a deep, quiet comfort in this idea. You are not alone. You are part of a vast, breathing world. Let this sense of a living, spirit-filled earth be a soothing presence, a quiet hum of life all around you that gently rocks you into a state of profound and peaceful sleep.
The mighty Kulshedra. In its dormant state, it is said to live in a hidden place in the underworld, or at the bottom of a deep lake, or sealed away in a remote cave. But when it awakens, its presence is felt across the land. It begins as a feeling of wrongness. The springs begin to dry up, the rivers shrink, the sun beats down with a merciless, brassy feet, and the earth cracks and turns to dust. This is the Kulshedra's work. It is withholding the world's water, hoarding it for itself. It brings drought, famine, and despair. When it finally emerges, it is a terrifying sight. It has a massive, serpentine body, covered in dull, slimy scales the color of wet slate. And it is multi-headed. Some stories say it has 7 heads, others say 9 or even 12. From these mouths, it can spew fire, but more often it spews floods. When the drought finally breaks, it is not with gentle, life-giving rain, but with a torrential, destructive downpour, a flash flood that gouges the land and sweeps everything away. This is the other side of its power. It controls all water, either by withholding it or by releasing it all at once in a cataclysm. The Kulshedra is also a creature of the storm. When it takes to the sky, it is not on leathery wings, but by transforming itself into a colossal dark storm cloud. The dark, boiling belly of a summer thunderstorm is the Kulshedra. Its roaring voice is the thunder. The hail that falls, hard as stones, is its teeth or its eggs. It pollutes the world with its presence, bringing sickness to humans and animals. Its gaze alone can be lethal. This creature is not simply a monster to be slain. It is a cosmic force, a representation of primordial chaos. It is the adversary of order, of life, of humanity.
Its existence is a constant threat to the fragile balance of the world. The stories tell of the sacrifices the Kulshedra demands. To appease its hunger and convince it to release the waters, a village might be forced to offer it a human sacrifice. This is a common theme in dragon myths around the world, the maiden sacrificed to the beast. It speaks to the ultimate helplessness of humanity in the face of nature's overwhelming and destructive power. The Kulshedra represents the fear of a bad harvest, the terror of a flash flood, the anxiety of a long, dry summer. It is the name given to the forces that can wipe out a community.
Its very form is a collection of fears. It is part serpent, the ancient symbol of the underworld and chaos. It is part storm cloud, the embodiment of nature's fury. Its multiple heads represent an enemy that is impossible to defeat, an attack that comes from all directions at once. But the existence of such a powerful, destructive force implies the existence of its opposite. The darkness of the Kulshedra calls forth a light to combat it. The chaos it represents necessitates a champion of order. The quiet dread that it inspires in the hearts of the villagers is answered by a quiet hope, a belief in a protector who is destined to face this terrible beast. So as you drift now, let the image of the Kulshedra be a distant one. You are safe from its fury. See it not as a creature before you, but as a dark shape in the clouds on the horizon. Hear the thunder not as a roar, but as a low, distant rumble, a sound that is more soothing than frightening. The Kulshedra is the embodiment of the world's great and powerful anxieties. But for every great fear, there is a great hope. Let the thought of this balance, this cosmic equilibrium, be a comfort. The storm is not the only thing in the sky. There is a hero waiting to meet it. Let this thought of balance and protection be the steadying presence that guides you into a deep and untroubled rest.
The knight called Drangair. A Drangair is not a god. He is a human, but a human born with a special destiny and a divine purpose. He is a hero marked from birth, a protector of the community. The signs of his birth are subtle, known only to the wise. A Drangair is born with a caul, a piece of the amniotic membrane still covering his head. Or he is born with a full set of teeth. Or, most telling of all, he is born with tiny, incipient wings under his arms. Imagine a scene in a quiet stone house. A baby has just been born. The mother, exhausted, notices something strange. She sees the small, featherless membranes tucked under her child's arms. She knows, with a mix of pride and fear, what this means. Her son is not like other children. He has been chosen. He is a Drangair. The childhood of a Drangair is often marked by signs of his superhuman strength and nature. He might be unusually strong, able to lift things no other child can. He might be fearless, drawn to storms rather than afraid of them. He might be recognized by other supernatural beings. The Zana, the mountain spirits, might favor him, leaving him gifts or protecting him from harm. They know he is one of their own, a champion of the natural order against the forces of chaos. The Drangair does not need to be trained to fight. His abilities are innate. His purpose is woven into his very being. He is the living embodiment of order, courage, and light. He is often associated with the eagle, the great bird of the mountains, and sometimes he is even said to be able to shapeshift into one. His primary, and indeed his only purpose in life, is to fight the Kulshedra. This is not a choice he makes, it is his destiny. When he senses that a Kulshedra is awakening, that it is causing drought or gathering a storm, he is compelled to act. He is drawn to the battle as if by an invisible thread. His weapons are not ordinary swords or spears. His weapons are the very tools of the storm god he has inherited his power from. He rips up trees and rocks to use as clubs. He hurls lightning bolts. He uses plowshares and millstones, symbols of human civilization and agriculture, as projectiles against the beast of chaos. His battle is not just a physical one, it is a symbolic one. It is the fight of civilization against wilderness, of order against chaos, of life against destructive famine. There are said to be many Drang at any one time, each protecting their own region. They can recognize each other, and sometimes they fight together. They are a brotherhood of celestial protectors, a silent, invisible army guarding the human world. They are often depicted as handsome and brave, the ideal of Albanian manhood. But being a Drang is also a burden. It is a life of constant vigilance, of eternal warfare. He can be wounded in his battles, and sometimes even killed. The stories tell of Drang who fall from the sky, their bodies found in the fields after a great storm, their wounds grievous. Their death is a great tragedy for the community they protected. The Drang represents the human capacity for courage and self-sacrifice. He is the hero who rises from the community to protect it. He is the embodiment of the hope that even in the face of overwhelming, destructive power, a champion will emerge. He is the assurance that the sun will return after the storm, that the springs will flow again after the drought. So as you rest now, let the image of the Drang be a comforting one. He is not a distant, unapproachable god. He is a local hero, born in a house just like the ones you have seen, to a mother who worried about him. He is the spirit of the community made manifest. Picture him not in the heat of battle, but in a moment of quiet resolve, looking up at the gathering storm clouds, his purpose clear in his eyes. He is the guardian, the protector, the silent knight of the mountains. Let the feeling of his watchful, protective presence be a source of deep calm and security, a shield that guards your own peaceful sleep. The battles in the skies. To the modern mind, a thunderstorm is a meteorological event. It is warm, moist air rising, condensing, and creating electrical charges that are released as lightning. But to the Albanian folk imagination, a thunderstorm is something far more dramatic. It is the physical manifestation of the war between the Drange and the Kulshedra. Imagine a hot, humid summer afternoon in the mountains. The air becomes heavy and still. Dark, bruised-looking clouds begin to build over the high peaks. This is the Kulshedra, gathering her power, drawing all the moisture and energy of the sky into herself. The world below grows dark, and a sense of foreboding falls over the land. Then, from another direction, a swifter, brighter cloud appears. Or perhaps a sudden, powerful gust of wind rushes through the valley. This is the arrival of the Drange. He has sensed the threat and has come to meet his ancient foe. The two forces meet and the battle begins. The first rumble of thunder is not the sound of expanding air. It is the sound of the Drange shouting his challenge or the roar of the Kulshedra's many heads. It is the sound of their massive celestial bodies colliding. The deep, rolling thunder that echoes through the valleys is the sound of their struggle, a cosmic wrestling match shaking the very foundations of the sky. The flashes of lightning that illuminate the dark clouds are not electrical discharges, they are the weapons of the fight. A sharp, forked bolt of lightning is the Drange's sword, or a lightning bolt he has hurled like a spear. A wider sheet lightning that flashes within the cloud is the fire from the Kulshedra's mouth. Each flash is a blow, a parry,
a moment of intense conflict. The people below would watch these flashes, trying to interpret the course of the battle. A strong, clear bolt that strikes the earth is a good sign. The drange has landed a powerful blow. The rain that begins to fall is also part of the battle. If it is a steady, life-giving rain, it means the drange is winning. He is forcing the Kulshedra to release the water she has hoarded. He is restoring life to the land. But if the rain turns to hail, the story is different. The hard, icy pellets of hail are the Kulshedra's teeth, or her blood and spittle, raining down on the world. A hailstorm is a sign that the battle is fierce, and the Kulshedra is full of rage.
Meteors or shooting stars seen during a storm have their own meaning. They are sparks struck from the clash of celestial weapons, or they are the souls of dying Drang or Kulshedra falling from the sky. The wind is their movement. A howling gale is the sound of their furious passage across the sky. A tornado or a waterspout is the very body of the Kulshedra, a vortex of destructive power reaching down to the earth. The Drang would fight to contain it, to force it back up into the clouds. The battle can rage for hours. The sky is a canvas of violent, dramatic light and sound. For the villagers huddled in their stone houses, it is a terrifying and awe-inspiring spectacle. They are not just watching a storm, they are witnessing a battle for their very survival. Their fate is being decided in the sky above them. They would pray for the drawing for their champion, lending him their spiritual strength. And then, slowly, the storm begins to subside. The thunder becomes more distant. The lightning flashes less frequently. The rain softens. The dark clouds begin to break apart. A patch of blue sky appears. This is the sign of the Drang's victory. He has defeated the Kulshedra, or at least driven her back into her lair for now. He has forced her to retreat and has restored balance to the world. As the last clouds drift away, a rainbow might appear. The rainbow is a sign of peace, a promise. It is the Drang's belt hung up in the sky after his hard-won victory. It is a symbol of the restored order. So as you drift deeper into sleep, think of the next time you hear a distant rumble of thunder. Imagine it not as a weather event, but as the faint echo of this ancient mythic battle. The storm is not just a storm, it is a story of chaos and order, of darkness and light. Let the low, rolling sound of distant thunder be a soothing, rhythmic drone. It is the sound of a battle that has been won, of a guardian who has protected his people. It is the sound of the world returning to peace, a peace that now settles over you and guides you into a deep and restful slumber. The price of victory. The relationship between the villagers and the Drang is one of reciprocity. The Drang fights for them, and they, in turn, must provide him with strength and sustenance through their offerings. These are not grand, elaborate ceremonies conducted by a priestly class. They are simple, humble, and deeply personal acts of faith, performed by ordinary farmers and shepherds. Imagine a farmer. After a terrible storm has passed, his crops battered but not destroyed. He feels a deep sense of gratitude. He knows the Drang has fought for him, and so he performs a small ritual. He goes to his fields and takes a handful of the first wheat that ripens, or a small portion of the grain from his storage. He might leave it on a special flat stone at the edge of his property, a place he considered sacred. Or he might burn it in a small fire, the smoke carrying the essence of his offering up to the heavens. It is a quiet, thank you, a way of repaying the debt. Now picture a shepherd high in the mountain pastures. His flock was terrified by the lightning and thunder, but now they are grazing peacefully. He too feels the need to give something back. He takes a lamb, often a pure white one, and sacrifices it. This is not a violent or angry act. It is a solemn one. The sacrifice is a gift of life, the most precious thing he can offer, to sustain the hero who has protected his livelihood. He might roast the meat, leaving a portion for the drang, and sharing the rest in a communal meal that reaffirms the bond between the community and its celestial guardian. Milk is another common offering. Milk is a symbol of life, of nourishment, of motherhood. After a storm, a woman might take a wooden bowl of fresh milk and pour it onto the earth or into a running stream. As she does so, she whispers a prayer for the drang, asking that he be strengthened, that his wounds be healed. It is a gentle, nurturing act, a way of mothering the hero, of tending to him after his great exertion. Bread, the staff of life, is also a powerful offering. A loaf of bread, baked with care, might be left in a hollow tree or on a mountain pass where the drang is thought to travel. These offerings are not meant to be physically eaten. It is the essence, the spirit of the food that is consumed by the hero. The physical offering might be taken by wild animals, and this is seen as a good sign, as the animals are often considered messengers or companions of the spirits.
These rituals are a way of actively participating in the mythology. They transform the villagers from passive spectators of a celestial drama into essential supporters. Their faith, their offerings, their prayers are a vital part of the cycle. Without them, the drang would be weakened. The balance of the world depends on this partnership between the human and the divine hero. This belief also strengthens the community. When a village collectively makes an offering, it reinforces their shared identity and their mutual dependence. They face the dangers of the world together, and they give thanks together. The ritual is a way of reaffirming social bonds. These acts are born from a deep understanding of the world as a system of exchanges. You cannot simply take from the world, its water, its grass, its good fortune, without giving something back. The world demands balance. The drang restores the cosmic balance by defeating the Kushedra, and the villagers restore their own balance with the drang through their offerings. So as you rest, think of these small, quiet acts of faith. Picture the farmer leaving a handful of grain on a stone. Imagine the shepherd's solemn prayer. See the woman pouring a bowl of white milk onto the dark earth. These are not acts of fear, but of gratitude and of partnership. They're the quiet, human heartbeat within the grand, epic myth. Let the thought of this gentle reciprocity, this peaceful sense of balance and connection, be a deeply calming influence. It is a world where everyone and everything has a role to play, a world of quiet order and profound harmony. Let that harmony settle over you and lead you into a deep and peaceful sleep. Dragons in the Village Imagination. Let us now step away from the battles and the offerings and into the quiet, everyday world of the village. The Kulshedra has been defeated, the Drange has retreated to rest, but their presence lingers, not as a direct threat or a visible hero, but in the imagination, in the way people see and interpret the world around them. How does a farmer, a shepherd, or a child live in a world where dragons are real? The answer
is that the dragons become part of the landscape of the mind. They are a lens through which the world is viewed, a way of finding meaning and story in the ordinary. Imagine a child lying on her back in a summer field, looking up at the passing clouds. She is not just seeing condensed water vapor. She is seeing a story unfold. A long, thin, wispy cloud is the tail of a distant dragon. A large, puffy white cloud might be the Drange's magical horse grazing in the fields of the sky. A dark, threatening cloud on the horizon is, of course, a Kulshedra, perhaps sleeping or perhaps just watching. The sky is not an empty space. It is a canvas for myth. This game of pareidolia, of seeing shapes in random patterns, is not just a game. It is a way of keeping the mythology alive, of reaffirming its reality on a daily basis. Now, picture a farmer working in his fields. He looks up at the jagged gray peaks of the mountains that surround his valley. One particular peak has a strange serrated ridge. To a geologist, it is the result of erosion. To the farmer, that ridge is the petrified spine of a defeated Kulshedra, slain long ago by a legendary Drange. Another mountain might have a large, dark patch of scree on its side. That is the mark of an ancient wound, where a Drange's lightning bolt struck the beast and scorched the earth. The landscape itself becomes a history book of the mythical war, its features a permanent testament to the great battles of the past.
A shepherd leading his flock finds a strange large fossil on the ground. It could be an ammonite or the bone of an ancient mammal. To him, it is not a fossil, it is a dragon's tooth, or a piece of a Kulshedra's scale, or a vertebra from its long spine. He might keep it as a powerful, if dangerous, amulet. He might tell his children the story of how it came to be there. The earth itself offers up physical proof of the legends. The dragons also live in the sounds of the world. The strange, low moaning sound that the wind sometimes makes as it passes through a narrow gorge is the sound of a Kulshedra sighing in its sleep. A sudden rockfall echoing through the mountains is the sound of a Drange shifting in his hidden cave. The world is constantly speaking in the language of myth, if you know how to listen. The imagination of the villagers gives the dragons a life beyond their role as cosmic forces. They become characters in smaller, more personal stories. There might be a local legend about a specific lake where a Kulshedra is said to live, and it is forbidden to fish there after dark. There might be a story about a brave shepherd who outwitted a small young Kulshedra, not through battle, but through cleverness. These local tales domesticate the myth, bringing it down from the sky and into the familiar landscape of the village. For a child, this world is both more frightening and more magical. A dark cellar might be a place where a baby dragon is hiding. A deep pool in the river is a place to be avoided. But it is also a world where heroes are real, where the storm is a sign of their protection. It imbues the world with a sense of epic significance. This way of seeing the world is not a conscious intellectual process. It is an intuitive, poetic understanding. It is a way of living in a story, of seeing the world not as a collection of random objects and events, but as a meaningful, interconnected narrative. The dragons provide a rich vocabulary for describing the beauty, the terror, and the mystery of the natural world. So, as you lie in the quiet of your bed, let your own imagination drift. Picture the clouds forming and reforming into the shapes of mythical beasts. See the mountains as sleeping giants. Hear the wind as the whisper of an ancient story. There is a deep comfort in a world that is so full of meaning, where everything is connected, where nothing is truly mundane. Let your mind embrace this gentle, story-filled way of seeing the world. Let it soften the edges of reality
and lead you into a world of dreams where anything is possible.
The aura of destiny. The aura are almost always female, and they often appear in groups of 3, a powerful and recurring number in European folklore. They are the Albanian equivalent of the Greek fates or the Norse Norns. They are the weavers of destiny, the beings who decide the course of a person's life at the moment of their birth. Imagine the scene, unseen by human eyes. 3 ethereal female figures enter the room where the newborn lies sleeping in its cradle. They are silent, their movements graceful. They gather around the infant, their faces serene and unreadable. They have come to perform their sacred and unalterable task. On the 3rd night after the baby's birth, a small feast is prepared and left out for them. The family places a table with bread, honey, and wine, a gesture of respect and a plea for a favorable destiny. Then the family leaves the room, holding their breath, waiting. They know that this is the moment when their child's fortune, be it good or ill, will be sealed. The 3 Orda begin their work. One of them might spin a thread of gold, representing the child's life. Another might measure it, and the 3rd, the most powerful and implacable, will cut it, determining the length of the child's days. But they do more than just determine the lifespan. They bestow the qualities and events that will shape the person's entire existence. One Oda, the benevolent one, might speak first. Leaning over the cradle, she whispers, "You will be brave and strong," or "You will be beautiful and loved by all," or "You will be wealthy and fortunate." These are the blessings, the good threads woven into the tapestry of the child's life. Then the 2nd Aura might speak, offering a more mixed fate. "You will have great love, but also great sorrows." Or, "You will find treasure, but you will lose it again." Her words introduce the complexities, the struggles, the shades of gray that are part of every human life. Finally, the 3rd Aura, sometimes seen as malevolent, but more often as simply realistic and stern, delivers the final, inescapable decrees. She might say, "You will die by water," or "You will be betrayed by a friend." These are the hard, unchangeable facts of the person's destiny. The family, listening from outside the door, might overhear these pronouncements. If the fate is good, they rejoice. If it is bad, they are filled with a deep and sorrowful resignation. For the decree of the Aura is absolute. It cannot be changed. No amount of prayer or struggle can alter the path that has been laid out. This belief in the Aura and in a preordained fate instills a certain kind of worldview, one of fatalism, but also of a quiet acceptance. It provides an explanation for suffering and for good fortune. Why was one person born into a wealthy family and another into poverty? It was the will of the Aura. Why did a young person die tragically? It was their thread being cut short. This belief can be a comfort, a way of making sense of a world that often seems random and unjust. It removes the burden of blame and replaces it with a sense of cosmic order, however harsh that order may be. Every person is also said to have their own personal aura, a kind of guardian spirit or fairy godmother that accompanies them through life. This aura represents their innate fortune or luck. A person with a white or good aura will be successful and happy. A person with a black or bad aura will be plagued by misfortune. The goal is to keep your personal aura happy, to not offend it through foolish or immoral behavior. So, as you lie in your bed, think of this invisible thread of destiny. It is not a frightening or constraining idea. In this context, it is a source of deep peace. It is the idea that your path is set, that you are part of a grand, unknowable design. There is nothing for you to strive for, nothing for you to worry about. The story is already written. All you have to do is live it. Let this feeling of surrender, of release, wash over you. Release your worries about the future, your regrets about the past. In this moment, there is only the quiet certainty of a path laid out for you, a path that leads you now gently and inexorably into a deep and peaceful sleep.
The Zana of the mountains. The Zana are some of the most beloved and iconic figures in Albanian mythology. They are powerful, beautiful, and fierce female spirits who dwell in the highest peaks, the deepest forests, and around the clearest, coldest springs. They are the guardians of the wild. Imagine you are a hunter climbing high into the mountains. You leave the last of the familiar pastures behind and enter a realm of pure, untouched nature. The air is thin and crisp. The only sounds are the whistling of the wind and the cry of an eagle. This is the domain of the Zana. They are often described as breathtakingly beautiful. They are tall and slender, dressed in shimmering white garments. Their most famous feature is their hair, which is long and golden, so long that it flows down to their feet. They are eternally youthful, their voices as musical as the sound of a mountain stream. They are often seen bathing in their sacred springs, singing or dancing in a circle in a hidden mountain meadow, a place where the grass is always green. To glimpse a Zana is a rare and powerful experience. They are shy and reclusive, avoiding contact with humans. But they are always watching. They are the protectors of the mountains and all the creatures that live there. They guard the wild goats, the deer, and especially the eagles. To hunt in their territory is to do so at their pleasure. A hunter who is respectful, who only takes what he needs, and who does not harm the land, might be favored by the Zana. They might guide a magnificent stag into his path, granting him a successful hunt. But the Zana are not gentle or whimsical fairies. They are fierce and dangerous when angered. A hunter who is greedy, who kills for sport, or who pollutes their sacred springs will face their wrath. Their punishment can be swift and terrible. They can cause a hunter to become hopelessly lost in the mountains. They can strike him blind or mad with a single glance. They can petrify him, turning him into a stone statue that will serve as a permanent warning to others. Their beauty is matched by their ferocity. They are the wild's immune system, protecting it from the intrusions of humanity.
The Zana are also patrons of brave warriors and heroes. In the epic songs, the Kang Keshnikish, the heroes often have a Zana as a kind of supernatural sister or ally. She gives them advice, heals their wounds with magical herbs, and lends them her strength in battle. But this relationship is conditional. The hero must always be courageous and true to his word. If he shows cowardice or breaks an oath, his Zana will abandon him in his moment of greatest need. They are also connected to childbirth and infancy. A Zana might give a child a special blessing, or even breastfeed a human infant, granting it superhuman strength and wisdom. This is why the Zana are sometimes referred to as the White Ladies, their milk being a source of magical power. The Zana represent a deep ecological consciousness. They are a personification of the idea that the wilderness has a right to exist on its own terms, that it is powerful and sacred, and that humans enter it as guests, not as masters. They embody the untamable spirit of the Albanian mountains, beautiful, life-giving, and dangerous. So as you settle into your rest, picture a hidden meadow high on a mountain, ringed by silent gray peaks. In the center of the meadow, a spring of crystal-clear water bubbles up from the earth. The air is pure and cold. This is the home of the Zana. You can almost feel their presence, a quiet, watchful energy in the air. You are a respectful visitor in their domain. There is no danger to you. You are simply observing the wild, sacred heart of the mountains. Let the image of this pristine, untouched place fill your mind. Let the thought of these powerful, beautiful guardians be a comfort. The wild places are not empty, they are protected, and in that protection there is a deep and profound peace.
Encounters with the Zana. Imagine you are a traveler. You are making your way through a high mountain pass as the sun begins to set. The light is fading fast, and the path ahead is unclear. You are tired, lost, and a little afraid. The wind is cold and carries a lonely sound. Suddenly, you come across a woman sitting on a rock by a spring. She is stunningly beautiful, with long, flowing hair, and she is weeping. This is a test. Your reaction in this moment is critical. The Zana are known to test the character of those who wander into their territory. Let's imagine the first scenario. You are a kind and respectful person. You approach the weeping woman cautiously. You ask her what is wrong and if you can help her. You offer her a piece of bread from your bag or a sip of water from your flask. The woman stops weeping and looks at you. Her eyes are as clear and deep as the spring water. She smiles, and her smile is like the first light of dawn. She is a Zana, and you have passed her test. She might give you a blessing. For your kindness, she might say, you will always find your way. Your path will be clear, and your home will always be filled with bread. She might then give you a small, simple gift, an apple or a strange, smooth stone. This gift will bring you good fortune for the rest of your days. The apple will never rot, or the stone will ensure you always have a silver coin in your pocket. Then she might vanish as suddenly as she appeared, leaving you alone in the twilight, but with a heart full of warmth and a life filled with quiet luck. Now, let's imagine the second scenario. You are a cruel or foolish person. You see the weeping woman and you mock her. You shout at her to get out of your way, or you make a crude remark about her beauty. Or perhaps, in your greed, you try to grab at her golden hair or her fine clothes. The weeping stops instantly. The woman stands up, and she is no longer just beautiful, she is terrifying. Her eyes flash with a cold green light. Her voice is no longer like music, but like the cracking of ice. You have failed the test. The Zana's curse falls upon you. For your cruelty, she might say, you will wander these mountains forever, never finding your way home. Or, your tongue that spoke such ugly words will be struck dumb. She might simply look at you, and the power in her gaze is enough to freeze you where you stand, turning you to stone. Your life is ruined, or ended, in a single fateful moment. The story of your foolishness will become a warning, told for generations, about the importance of respecting the spirits of the wild. Another type of encounter is with the Zana's sacred animals. A shepherd might find a wild goat with a strange mark on its fur, or an eagle with a broken wing. If he tends to the animal, if he helps it and sets it free, he will be rewarded. The Zana, watching from afar, will see his act of kindness. His flock will be protected from wolves, and his sheep will always give birth to healthy twins.
These stories are moral compasses. They teach the virtues of compassion, respect, and humility. They reinforce the idea that your actions, even when you think no one is watching, have consequences. The Zana are the silent witnesses of the mountains, the arbiters of a natural justice that is swift and absolute. They also represent the unpredictable nature of the wild itself. The wilderness can be a source of great beauty and fortune, but it can also be a place of sudden, inexplicable danger. A beautiful, sunny day in the mountains can turn into a deadly blizzard in minutes. A clear path can lead to a hidden cliff edge. The Zana, with their dual nature, nurturing and beautiful one moment, deadly and terrifying the next, are the perfect personification of this reality. So as you drift now, let these stories be a gentle reminder of the power of small choices. You are safe from the tests of the Zana, but you can appreciate the world they represent, a world where kindness is rewarded and cruelty is punished, a world of clear moral certainty. Let the image of the beautiful, powerful Zana, a guardian of a just and wild world, be a comforting presence. There is an order to things, a balance, and in that balance you can find a deep and reassuring peace, a peace that allows you to let go and fall into a restful sleep.
The role of the Striga. The Striga is the Albanian witch, a figure of profound dread and a staple of folklore across the Balkans. Unlike the Zana, who were spirits of a place, the Striga is almost always a human woman, an old woman from the village who possesses a terrible, malevolent power. She is the explanation for the things that go wrong in the fragile ecosystem of village life. Imagine a village where a sickness is spreading among the children. They grow pale, weak, and listless. The local healer's herbs have no effect. The family's prayers seem to go unanswered. What is the cause of this inexplicable illness? The answer, whispered in fearful tones from one neighbor to another, is the Striga. The Striga is believed to have the power to drain the life force or the blood of a person, especially an infant or a child. She does not do this openly. By day, she is an ordinary, if perhaps reclusive or eccentric, old woman. But at night, her spirit leaves her body while she sleeps. It often takes the form of a flying insect, most commonly a moth. This is why a moth fluttering around a candle at night or near a sleeping baby's cradle was viewed with such terror. It could be the Striga, come to feed. She is driven by an insatiable hunger, a need to consume the vitality of others to sustain her own unnatural life. The child who is her victim wastes away, seemingly for no reason. The Striga is the embodiment of the fear of infant mortality, of sudden illness, of the hidden, unseen dangers that could strike a family at any time.
She is also blamed for other misfortunes. Did a cow suddenly stop giving milk? The Striga must have bewitched it. Did a batch of bread fail to rise? The Striga looked upon it with the evil eye. She is the scapegoat for the small and large disasters of agricultural life, the focus for the anxiety that comes with a life so dependent on the whims of nature and luck. How does one become a Striga? It is not usually a choice. Often it is believed to be a curse or something passed down from mother to daughter. They are born into this terrible nature, and they cannot escape it. This adds a layer of tragedy to the figure. She is not just evil, she is cursed. Because the Striga is human, the fear of her is a social fear. It is the fear of the enemy within. Any old woman who was perhaps widowed, childless, or just a bit strange could fall under suspicion. The belief in the Striga could turn neighbor against neighbor, creating paranoia and mistrust within the tight-knit community. But there are ways to protect oneself. Amulets are crucial. A clove of garlic hung over a baby's cradle is a powerful deterrent. A cross or a coin with a cross on it can ward her off. A black-handled knife placed under the pillow is also said to offer protection. And perhaps the most powerful defense is a hero who can fight her. The Drang, the celestial hero, is sometimes said to be her natural enemy. He can see her for what she is, even in her human form, and has the power to destroy her. There are stories of brave men who would wait up at night, watching for the moth, and then trap it. If the moth is captured and cannot return to the Striga's body by sunrise, she will die. These stories are a way of reasserting control, of fighting back against the formless fear of sickness and misfortune. The Striga represents the dark side of the human community. She is jealousy, envy, and hidden malice given form. She is the fear of what your neighbors might be capable of in secret. She is the anxiety of a world where things go wrong for no apparent reason. So as you lie safely in your bed, let the fearful image of the Striga recede. She is a creature of shadow, and you are in a place of rest and light. Think of her not as a monster, but as a vessel for a community's fears. The belief in her is a way of giving a name and face to the anxieties of life. By understanding this, her power over you dissolves. The whispers about her become just whispers, a soft, rustling sound like the moth's wings that is distant and harmless. Let the feeling of your own safety, your own security be a comfort, and let it guide you into a deep, untroubled, and protected sleep.
The White Ladies of the Forest. While the Zana are spirits of the high, rugged, and dangerous mountain peaks, the White Ladies are spirits of the lower, gentler woodlands, of the lush meadows, and of the quiet, flowing rivers. They're creatures of moonlight and twilight, rarely seen in the harsh light of day. Imagine you were walking by a river at night. The moon is full, and it casts a silver light over everything. The world is silent, except for the soft, continuous murmur of the water. Suddenly, through the trees, you see a group of figures. They are tall, graceful women, dressed in long, flowing robes of a brilliant, shining white. They seem to almost glow in the moonlight. Their hair is long and pale, like spun silver. These are the White Ladies. They're often seen dancing in a circle in a forest clearing, their movements fluid and silent. Their feet do not seem to touch the ground. Or they might be seen floating just above the surface of a river, their white robes trailing in the water without getting wet. Their voices, if they are heard at all, are as soft and musical as the sound of the flowing water itself. Unlike the Zana, who are quick to anger and can be very dangerous, the White Ladies are almost always a good omen. They are associated with healing, with good fortune, and with the protection of the innocent. They are spirits of peace and tranquility. Their main gift to humanity is their connection to healing waters. Certain springs or stretches of a river were believed to be under their protection. The water from these places was thought to have magical healing properties. A person suffering from an illness might be brought to one of these sacred spots at night. They would drink the water.
or bathe in it, while their family prayed quietly to the white ladies for a cure. It was believed that the spirits would infuse the water with their gentle, benevolent power, washing away the sickness. They are also protectors of young children and lovers. A child who wanders into the woods might be gently guided back to the path by an unseen hand, a soft whisper, which is attributed to them. A young couple, meeting in secret by the river, might feel a sense of blessing and protection, a feeling that their love is being watched over by these gentle spirits. The white ladies are often connected to the aura, the spirits of fate. Sometimes they are seen as the same beings, or as different aspects of the same feminine power. A white lady might appear to a pregnant woman to offer a blessing for her unborn child, promising it a happy and healthy life. They are deeply connected to the moon. They are most powerful during the full moon, and their appearances are tied to its cycles. This links them to the ancient, universal association between the feminine, the moon, and the water, all symbols of life, of cycles, and of intuition. The white ladies represent a softer, more nurturing aspect of the supernatural world. If the Zana are the embodiment of the wild's fierce independence, the white ladies are the embodiment of its gentle, healing power. They are the cool hand on a fevered brow, the soft light in the darkness, the quiet murmur of hope. They remind us that the spirit world is not just a place of danger and conflict, but also a source of peace, healing, and grace. So as you settle deeper into your rest, let the image of the white ladies fill your mind. Picture a moonlit river flowing silently through a dark forest. See the soft, glowing figures dancing on its banks. Hear the gentle, musical sound of their voices, blending with the sound of the water. There is no danger here. There is only a profound sense of peace, of calm, of gentle, healing energy. Let this serene and beautiful image wash over you like the cool, clean water of their sacred river. Let it cleanse your mind of all worries and carry you away into a state of deep, tranquil, and restorative sleep. Traces of Illyrian deities. Imagine you are an archaeologist, carefully brushing away the soil from a stone altar that has been buried for 2,000 years. As the dust clears, letters begin to appear. They are Latin letters, carved by a Roman soldier or official. But the name they spell out is not a familiar Roman god. It is a name like Midaris, or Redon, or Prende. These are the faint, fading footprints of the lost Illyrian pantheon. Our knowledge of these gods is incredibly fragmented. The Illyrians did not write down their myths. We know of them primarily through the Romans, who, in their practical way, often equated the local deities with their own. So, an inscription might read, Diana and Prende, suggesting that Prende was the Illyrian goddess of love and beauty, their equivalent of the Roman Diana or the Greek Aphrodite. Prende is one of the few whose name survived, as her sacred day, Friday, became associated with Saint Veneranda in Christian times. Her memory lingered. Another name that appears is Medoris. Inscriptions found near Roman military camps suggest he was a god of war and perhaps also of healing, a common combination in the ancient world, as soldiers prayed for both victory and survival. He was often depicted on horseback, a powerful, mounted warrior god, perhaps the protector of a specific Illyrian tribe. His name is now just a scholarly footnote, but for centuries he was a powerful presence in the lives of the people who lived here. Then there is Redon, whose name appears on coins and inscriptions in coastal cities. He seems to have been a god of the sea, a protector of sailors and fishermen, the Illyrian Poseidon. His name may even be the origin of the name of a cape in modern Albania. He was the one to whom a fisherman would pray before setting out in his small boat, the one to whom he would give thanks for a good catch and a safe return. And what of the king of the gods? The Illyrians almost certainly had a powerful sky and thunder god, the ancestor of the later folklore figure, Perendi. He would have been the equivalent of Zeus and Jupiter, a patriarchal figure who ruled from a mountaintop, wielding lightning as his weapon. But his original Illyrian name is lost to us, swallowed by time and by the Roman name of Jupiter. We see his shadow everywhere in the later myths, but his true name is gone.
These fragments give us a tantalizing glimpse into a lost world of belief. We can imagine temples, now vanished, dedicated to these gods. We can imagine priests performing rituals and sacrifices to earn their favor. We can imagine festivals celebrating their power, with feasting and dancing, but the details are gone. All we have are these faint echoes. The gods themselves tell us something about the people who worshipped them. They were a people concerned with the essentials of life, with war and survival, with love and fertility, with the sea and its bounty, and with the powerful, unpredictable sky above them. Their religion was rooted in the practical realities of their world. Thinking about these lost gods is a profoundly calming and humbling experience. It is a reminder of the impermanence of all things, even the divine. The gods that were once the center of a people's universe, to whom they prayed with all their hearts, can fade away until they are nothing more than a curious name on a weathered stone. So, as you drift towards sleep, let your mind hold this sense of deep, quiet time. Picture that stone altar, half buried in the earth. Feel the weight of the centuries of silence that have passed since the last prayer was whispered there. The names of these gods, Medauris, Redon, Prende, do not need to be remembered. They are just soft, gentle sounds. They are the whispers of a world that has long since passed away. Let the thought of this vast, silent, forgotten past be a comfort. It puts all our own worries into perspective. We are all just passing through. And in that acceptance, there is a profound peace.
The sun and the moon. Imagine yourself standing on a hilltop at the very break of dawn. The world is bathed in a soft, gray light. It is cold. Then the first sliver of the sun appears over the distant mountains. A wave of golden light washes over the landscape, chasing away the shadows, bringing warmth and color back to the world. It is easy to understand why the sun was worshipped as a god. It is the ultimate source of light, of warmth, and of life. Without it, the crops would not grow. The world would be frozen and dark. In Albanian folklore, the sun, Gjeli, is almost always seen as a male figure, a powerful, life-giving father or king. He rides across the sky in a golden chariot, a story familiar from many other mythologies. He is a symbol of strength, of clarity, of righteous power. Tattoos of the sun, stylized as a circle with rays, were common among Illyrian tribes, a way of carrying the god's power and protection on their own skin. The sun's cycle governs the rhythm of daily life. You rise with the sun, you work while it is in the sky, and you rest when it sets. Its position in the sky tells you the time of day. Its path across the sky through the year marks the seasons. The winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, was a time of great anxiety. Would the sun return? Rituals were performed, fires were lit, sympathetic magic to encourage the sun to regain its strength and begin its long journey back towards the summer. The summer solstice, the longest day, was a celebration of the sun's peak power, a time of feasting and joy. Now imagine the sun has set. A deep velvet darkness falls. And then another celestial being appears, the moon, Hana. In contrast to the sun, the moon is almost always seen as a female figure. She is the sun's sister, or his wife. She is the queen of the night, a figure of mystery, of magic, and of emotion. Her light is not the harsh, direct light of the sun, but a soft, silver, and indirect glow. It does not reveal everything clearly. It transforms the world, making familiar landscapes look strange and new. It is the light of secrets, of lovers, and of spirits. We have already seen how the white ladies are creatures of the moonlight. The moon is the patroness of all things magical and hidden.
Her cycles are even more closely watched than the sun's. The waxing and waning of the moon, from a thin sliver to a full, bright orb and back again, is a powerful symbol of birth, death, and rebirth. This cycle was a mystery, a divine drama played out in the sky every month. It was believed to govern the tides, the growth of plants, and the cycles of the female body. Farmers would plant their crops according to the phases of the moon, believing that seeds planted during a waxing moon would grow strong, while those planted during a waning moon would wither. The sun and the moon are often depicted as a divine couple, engaged in an eternal celestial dance. Their union, seen during a solar eclipse, was a powerful and often terrifying event, a sacred marriage that momentarily upended the natural order. They are the parents of the stars. In some folk songs, the sun and moon have a family, and their dramas and arguments are played out in the heavens. This worship of the sun and moon is a deep, foundational layer of belief. It predates the individualized gods of the pantheon. It is a direct response to the most powerful and fundamental realities of the natural world. It is a simple, profound, and universal form of spirituality. So as you lie in your bed, feel the gentle, imagined warmth of the sun on your skin. Then, feel the cool, soft light of the moon. Think of this eternal, cosmic rhythm, the sun giving way to the moon, the day giving way to the night. It is a cycle that has continued without fail for all of human existence. It is the most reliable, predictable, and steadying presence in our lives. There is a deep, deep comfort in that predictability. Let the slow, eternal, and silent dance of the sun and the moon be the rhythm that rocks you to sleep.
The god of thunder. Across the entire Indo-European world, from the Indian god Indra to the Greek Zeus, the Roman Jupiter, the Norse Thor, and the Slavic Perun, the king of the gods was almost always a sky father, a wielder of thunder and lightning. The Illyrians, and by extension the Albanians, were no exception. This was the most powerful, most respected, and most feared of all the gods. His name in later Albanian folklore is Perendi.
a word that is now used to mean God in a general sense, but its roots point to a specific thunder god, a name perhaps related to the Slavic Perun or the North Fjorgen. Another name that is sometimes used is shurth, a word that means deaf one in modern Albanian, a strange name that might hint at a god who is distant and does not listen to prayers, or perhaps one whose thunderous voice makes all others deaf. Imagine yourself in a village, watching a storm build over the mountains. The clouds are dark, the wind is rising. This is the domain of the thunder god. He lives on the highest, most inaccessible mountain peaks, the places that are closest to the sky. He is the one who gathers the clouds. He is the one who unleashes the storm. When he strikes, it is with a bolt of lightning. This is his weapon, his tool, and his sign. A place that has been struck by lightning becomes a sacred and dangerous spot. The object that was struck, a tree, a rock, is imbued with the god's power. A piece of a lightning-struck tree might be kept as a powerful amulet, one that can ward off evil spirits. The fulgurites, the glassy tubes of melted sand created when lightning strikes the earth, were seen as the god's physical arrows. The god of thunder was not a malevolent figure like the Kolshedra. He was a figure of divine justice. He was the great upholder of oaths. In a world without written contracts, a spoken oath was a sacred, binding promise. An oath was often sworn on the sky, on the sun, or on a sacred stone, and it was the thunder god who was the witness and the enforcer. If someone broke a sacred oath, they could expect to be punished. The god would hurl a lightning bolt at their house, their livestock, or even at them. This belief was a powerful social tool, ensuring that people kept their word for fear of divine retribution.
He was also a protector of the community. His storms, while frightening, were also seen as cleansing. They washed the air, brought life-giving rain for the crops, and, most importantly, they drove away evil spirits. The lightning was thought to kill demons and malevolent beings that lurked in the shadows. So, while a storm was a time to be cautious, it was also a time when the world was being purified by a powerful divine force. He was a patriarchal figure, the father of the gods and of humanity. He was often associated with the eagle, the king of the birds, who could fly closest to his domain. The connection between the thunder god and the eagle is a deep and ancient one. In later folklore, the figure of the thunder god becomes split. His storm-making, evil-fighting aspects are given to the heroic Drang. His role as a divine father and creator is taken by the Christian God, and his association with storms is given to the prophet Elijah, who, in the Old Testament, rides a chariot of fire into the heavens. When a peasant heard thunder, he might cross himself and say, "It is the chariot of Elijah." The old god did not die. He was simply dismantled, his various powers and attributes distributed among new figures. So, as you rest, think of this powerful ancient figure. Picture the highest mountain peak shrouded in clouds. Feel the immense, dormant power that resides there. The god is not angry. He is simply watching, a silent, powerful guardian of order and justice. The distant rumble of thunder is the sound of his presence, a reminder that the world is governed by powerful laws. Let the thought of this great, just, and protective power be a comfort. There is a guardian in the sky, an enforcer of oaths, a cleanser of the world, and under his watchful, if distant eye, you can safely and peacefully fall asleep. The hidden goddess of rivers. While the thunder god is a figure of dramatic, awesome power, the goddess of the rivers is a figure of quiet, constant, life-giving force. She has no single universally agreed-upon name that has survived from Illyrian times.
She is known by the places she inhabits. She is the mother of the spring, the lady of the river. Her presence is synonymous with the water itself. Imagine you are kneeling by a spring. The water emerges silently from a crack in a rock, impossibly clear and cold. It forms a small, still pool before trickling away to join a larger stream. The ground around the spring is lush and green, even in the driest part of summer. This place feels alive. It feels sacred. This is the home of the goddess. She is the source of life. Without water, there is no life for humans, for animals, or for plants. The goddess who controls the water is therefore one of the most important deities, even if she is not the most powerful. She is a goddess of fertility in the broadest sense. She makes the crops grow, she makes the livestock healthy, she ensures that women can bear children. She is the nurturing, maternal force of the earth. The worship of her is not done in large temples or with grand public ceremonies. It is personal, quiet, and often performed by women. A woman who wants to conceive a child might come to a sacred spring at dawn. She would not say a loud, formal prayer. She would simply kneel by the water, dip her hands in, and perhaps drink from it. She might leave a small personal offering, a lock of her own hair, a piece of colorful thread from her dress, or a small, hand-carved wooden doll. These are intimate gifts, given directly to the goddess. A person suffering from a fever or a skin disease might also come to the spring. They would bathe the afflicted part of their body in the cold, clear water, believing that the goddess's healing power would wash the sickness away. The water is her essence, her tangible form.
Rivers, too, were her domain. A bridge over a river was a special, liminal place. It was common practice to make a small offering when crossing a bridge for the first time, perhaps by dropping a coin into the water. This was a payment, a sign of respect to the goddess whose domain you were crossing. It was a way of ensuring a safe passage. The goddess of the water could also be dangerous. She represented not just the gentle spring, but also the raging, destructive flood. She had a dark side. Certain deep pools in a river, where the water was dark and still, were thought to be places where the goddess might drown unwary travelers. These were places to be respected and feared. This duality is essential to her character. She is the giver of life, but also the taker of it. She embodies the full, untamable cycle of nature. In later folklore, her role is often taken over by the Zana or the White Ladies, the spirits who protect the springs and dance by the rivers. The idea of a single great goddess fractures into a multitude of smaller, local water spirits. But the core belief remains the same. The water is alive, it is feminine, and it is powerful. So as you drift deeper into sleep, let the sound of flowing water fill your mind. It is a gentle, constant, and soothing sound. Imagine the clear, cold water of a sacred spring, bubbling up from the heart of the earth. Picture a quiet river, flowing steadily through a green valley. This is the presence of the hidden goddess. She is the gentle, nurturing, and life-giving force of the world. Let the sound of her waters wash over you, cleansing your mind of all thoughts and worries. Let it be a soft, steady rhythm that carries you down into a deep, peaceful, and restorative sleep.
Pagan rites beneath the cross. The arrival of Christianity did not erase the ancient pagan beliefs of the Albanian people. Instead, a long, slow process of syncretism took place. The old ways were too deeply ingrained in the culture and the landscape to simply disappear. So they adapted, they blended,
They hid in plain sight. The most powerful example of this is the celebration of the summer and winter festivals. The summer festival, Dita Everes, celebrated in March, was an ancient pagan New Year, a celebration of the rebirth of nature and the return of the sun's strength. It was a time for lighting bonfires to purify the land and drive away the spirits of winter. With the arrival of Christianity, these bonfires continued, but now they were lit on the feast days of Christian saints. The ritual remained the same, but its official justification had changed. People would still wear a special braided bracelet, a verrore, a tradition with deep pagan roots meant to honor the spirits of nature. The saints themselves often took on the roles and attributes of the old gods. We have already seen how Saint Elijah, the prophet who ascended to heaven in a chariot of fire, became the new master of thunder and lightning, replacing the old sky god. When people heard thunder, they would cross themselves and invoke Elijah. But the fear and awe they felt was the same fear and awe their ancestors had felt for the pagan thunder god. Saint George, the dragon-slaying knight, became an incredibly popular figure. His story provided a perfect Christian framework for the ancient myth of the hero, the Drange, fighting the great serpent, the Kulshidra. The battle for the balance of nature became a battle between a Christian saint and a demonic beast. The Virgin Mary, a figure of maternal love and powerful intercession, absorbed many of the qualities of the ancient mother goddesses and the spirits of fertility, like the goddess Prende. A sacred spring, once dedicated to a water nymph, might be rededicated to the Virgin Mary, and it would become a place of Christian pilgrimage. But the ritual, visiting the spring, drinking the water, leaving an offering for a cure, remained almost identical to the pagan practice.
Even the ancient belief in fate, the power of the aura, found a place within the new faith. The decrees of the aura were reinterpreted as the inscrutable will of the Christian God. The fatalistic acceptance of one's destiny remained a core part of the worldview, but now it was framed in Christian terms. It is God's will replaced it is the will of the aura. The home itself remained a place of dual belief. A family would have icons of the saints on their walls, but they would still be deeply respectful of the hearth spirit. They would hang a clove of garlic by the door to ward off the evil eye or the striga, a practice with no basis in Christian scripture, but with deep roots in pagan folk magic. They would go to church on Sunday, but they would also carefully observe the phases of the moon when planting their garden. This was not a contradiction in their minds. It was a practical, layered approach to faith. The Christian God was the great overarching power who governed salvation and the afterlife. But the old spirits and forces were still present in the immediate physical world. They still governed the health of the livestock, the success of the crops, and the safety of the family. It was wise to pay respect to both worlds. This blending created a uniquely resilient and rich spiritual culture. It allowed the ancient soul of the land to survive, clothed in the garments of a new religion. The old gods were not vanquished, they simply went into hiding, their voices still audible in the folk tales, the seasonal festivals, and the everyday superstitions of the people. So as you drift into sleep, think of this quiet layering of belief. Picture that old stone church with the cross on its roof and the ancient sacred spring bubbling just outside its walls. It is a place of peace where two worlds have learned to coexist. There is no conflict here, only a slow, gentle, and practical blending. Let this image of harmony, of old and new living together, be a deep comfort. It is a testament to the endurance of belief and the human ability to find meaning in a complex world. And in that peaceful coexistence, you can find your own deep rest.
Songs that still carry their names.
The electric lights may be harsh, the television may be on in the corner, but someone calls for a song. An old man takes up a lahuta, the traditional one-stringed fiddle. He closes his eyes, and when he begins to sing, the modern world fades away. The room is filled with the world of the Kenga Kreshnikish, the songs of the frontier heroes. These epic ballads are one of the most important living vessels of Albanian mythology. They are a vast cycle of songs passed down orally for centuries, telling the story of two heroic brothers, Muji and Halili, and their band of 30 warriors who live on the frontier between the Christian and Ottoman worlds. The world of these songs is a mythic one. The heroes are not ordinary men. They are giants in strength and courage. Muji, the main hero, gains his superhuman power by drinking the milk of a zana. This is a direct link to the ancient belief in the mountain spirits as bestowers of supernatural gifts. The heroes are in constant communication with the spirit world. The zana are major characters in these epics. They are the heroes' sisters, their protectors and advisors. Before a great battle, a hero might go to a sacred spring to consult with his zana. She will warn him of danger, give him a magical weapon, or heal his wounds with special herbs. But she also demands loyalty and courage. If a hero flinches, she will abandon him. The relationship is a perfect reflection of the ancient bond between a warrior and his patron spirit. The landscape in the songs is the same mythic landscape we have explored. The heroes' horses are not normal animals. They are intelligent, loyal companions who can talk and who have their own supernatural powers. They can leap from one mountain peak to another. Their speed is described in mythic terms. They are the descendants of the magical horses of the ancient sky gods. The battles themselves are epic. The heroes fight against Slavic champions, the Shkie, who are often depicted as monstrous or inhuman. The fighting can last for days. The numbers are exaggerated. A hero might fight off hundreds of enemies at once. This is not history, it is saga. It is a story designed to celebrate the core virtues of the culture: bravery, trimeri, honor, besa, and endurance.
The very act of singing these songs is a ritual. The singer, the lahutar, is not just a performer. He is a conduit for the past. His chanting, repetitive melodies, and the droning, mournful sound of the lahuta create a hypnotic atmosphere, drawing the listeners into the world of the story. The language is archaic and poetic. The performance can last for hours as the singer pulls from a vast repertoire of episodes and themes. These songs were not just sung for entertainment. They were a history, a moral education, and a reinforcement of cultural identity, all in one. They taught young men what it meant to be a hero. They reminded the community of their shared past and their shared values. In times of hardship and foreign domination, these songs were a powerful statement. We are still here, and this is who we are. Even today, though the tradition of epic singing is fading, it is not gone. Folklorists have recorded thousands of hours of these songs. They are studied in universities, and in some remote villages, you can still find an old man who knows the stories, who can pick up a lahuta and, for a little while, make the age of heroes live again. So as you rest, let the faint, imagined sound of the lahuta be a soothing drone in your mind. Hear the rhythmic, chanting voice of the singer. You do not need to follow the story of the battle. Just let the sound and the rhythm be a testament to the power of song to carry a world through time. It is the sound of memory itself, a deep, resonant,
an unbroken connection to the past. And in that deep resonance, you can find a profound and peaceful sleep.
Superstitions in the modern world. The belief in the evil eye is ancient and widespread, but it is deeply ingrained in the Balkans. It is the idea that envy or excessive praise, even when not malicious, can bring misfortune, illness, or bad luck, especially to something young and vulnerable. The mother's small, almost automatic ritual is a direct echo of a world where unseen forces could bring harm and where protective magic was a necessary part of daily life. The baby might wear a small blue bead or a clove of garlic pinned to its clothes, a tiny amulet to deflect this negative energy. Now, picture a new house being built. Before the final stone is laid, the builders might place a coin, some grain, or even a small iron nail in the foundation. This is a quiet offering, a continuation of the ancient practice of making a sacrifice to the spirit of the land on which the house is built. It is a way of ensuring the house will be strong, lucky, and that its inhabitants will be safe. No one might be able to articulate exactly why they are doing it, other than to say, "It is our tradition, it is for good luck." The ritual has outlived its original explanation, but the feeling behind it remains. In the kitchen, you might see other small superstitions at play. Spilling salt is bad luck, and a pinch must be thrown over the left shoulder to blind the devil, or the mischievous spirit that lurks there. A loaf of bread is never placed upside down on the table, as this is a sign of profound disrespect to the staff of life and will bring poverty. These are small rules of conduct that are imbued with a sense of ancient, magical consequence. Dreams are still seen as powerful portents. A dream of a snake might mean an enemy is near. A dream of clear water is a sign of good things to come. People, especially the elderly, will analyze their dreams, looking for messages from the other side, just as their ancestors looked for omens in the flight of birds. The fear of the striga, the witch, also lingers. An owl hooting near a house at night might be seen as a bad omen, a sign that a striga is near. People might be careful not to leave clothes hanging outside overnight for fear that a malevolent spirit might touch them.
And the weather still speaks in the language of myth. A sudden, unexplained whirlwind on a calm day is not just wind, it is a spirit passing by. A person caught in it might feel dizzy or unwell, and it is said that the spirits have touched them. These beliefs are often held in a half-serious way. A person might laugh about it, saying, "Of course I don't really believe this," but they will still perform the small ritual, just in case. It is a form of cultural insurance, a way of honoring the wisdom of the ancestors without having to fully subscribe to their worldview. It costs nothing to throw a pinch of salt, but it might prevent some unseen misfortune. These small acts are the ghosts of the great myths. They are the fragmented, everyday remnants of a once complete system of belief. They show that while the grand narrative may have faded, the underlying feelings, the fear of envy, the desire for protection, the need for good fortune, remain as powerful as ever. So as you drift deeper into sleep, think of these quiet, persistent echoes. They are not grand or dramatic. They are as soft as a whispered phrase, as small as a blue bead. They are the gentle, background hum of an ancient world, still audible beneath the noise of modern life. Let this quiet hum be a soothing presence, a sign that the past is never truly gone, that it lives on in the small, unconscious habits that give our lives texture and meaning. And in that continuity, there is a deep and comforting peace. The mountains as sacred places. Let the small domestic superstitions fade away, and let us return one last time to the great, silent peaks of the Albanian Alps. But we are seeing them now not just as a place of myth, but as a place of enduring spiritual power, a place that continues to be sacred even in a secular age. Imagine a group of young people, dressed in modern hiking gear, making their way up a steep mountain trail. They are here for adventure, for exercise, for the spectacular views. They follow a path marked on a digital map on their phone. But the path they are walking on is not new. It is an ancient track, worn into the earth by the feet of shepherds, of traders, and of pilgrims over hundreds, if not thousands of years. They stop to rest by a spring that gushes from the rock. They refill their modern water bottles from the same source where their ancestors would have stopped to make an offering to a zana or a water spirit. They might not know the stories, but they can feel the special quality of the place. They might comment on how pure and cold the water is, how the air here feels different. They are feeling the same sense of awe and reverence that their ancestors felt, even if they don't have the same language to describe it. Further up the trail, they pass a strange solitary rock formation. It is a place that was once believed to be a petrified giant or the site of a mythical battle. For the hikers, it is a cool landmark, a great spot for a photograph. But as they stand before it, they fall silent. They feel the immense age of the stone, the power of the natural forces that shaped it. They are, in their own way, paying homage to the spirit of the place. The mountains themselves have a way of inducing a state of mind that is close to spiritual. As you climb higher, the noise and concerns of the world below fall away. The air becomes thinner, cleaner. The silence is broken only by the wind. The sheer scale of the landscape, the vast sky above, the deep valleys below, forces a sense of humility. It makes one's own problems seem small and insignificant. This is the same feeling of humility that their ancestors would have felt in the presence of their gods. The mountains are a natural cathedral, a place that inspires awe and introspection, regardless of one's belief system.
Certain peaks are still regarded as special. Mount Timur in central Albania is a perfect example. In pagan times, it was the home of the great Illyrian sky god. Later, it became a site of Christian pilgrimage. And for the Bektashi, a mystical Sufi order of Islam, it is the sacred resting place of a holy figure. Over the centuries, layer upon layer of sacredness has been placed upon this single mountain. Every summer, thousands of people from different faiths make a pilgrimage to its summit, to light candles, to make offerings, and to pray. The mountain itself is the constant, the object of veneration that transcends any single religion. It is the land itself that is holy. Even for the non-religious, the mountains are a place of renewal, a place to reconnect with something primal and real. The act of climbing a mountain is a ritual. It requires effort, endurance, and focus. Reaching the summit is a reward, a moment of clarity and perspective. This is a secular pilgrimage, but it taps into the same deep human need for challenge and transcendence that drove the pilgrims of old. So as you settle into your final moments of wakefulness, picture yourself on one of these high peaks. The sun is setting, and the world below is turning a deep shade of purple. The air is still and cold. You are alone, but you do not feel lonely. You feel a deep connection to the ancient stone beneath your feet and the vast starry sky above you. You can feel the silence, a silence that is not empty, but full of a powerful, dormant presence. This is the enduring spirit of the Albanian mountains.
It is a spirit that has been felt by every generation that has lived in their shadow. Let this profound, silent, and majestic peace be the final feeling that you hold as it gently lowers you into the deepest sleep.
The stories that refuse to die. Narrative let us descend from the lonely peak and return to the warmth of human community, to the world of family and village. The sun is set, the day's work is done, and the stories are being told. Even now, in a world of internet and television, the ancient tales have not entirely disappeared. They have simply found new ways to survive. The child is afraid of the dark. The grandmother doesn't launch into a full epic of the Kulshedra, but she might say, "Don't you worry, the Drange are watching over you. They keep the bad things away while you sleep." The great myth is scaled down, transformed into a personal assurance, a bedtime prayer. The hero becomes a guardian angel for a sleepy child. Or perhaps a group of teenagers are planning a camping trip by a remote mountain lake. An uncle, overhearing them, might tell them, with a half smile, "Be careful up there. Don't make too much noise by the water at night. You don't want to disturb what lives in the deep." He might not explicitly say the word Kulshedra, but the warning is clear. It is a story told as a cautionary tale, a piece of folk wisdom disguised as a joke. The story survives not as a literal belief, but as a cultural reflex, a way of expressing a primal respect for the unknown. The Drange, too, live on. A young man might be warned by his mother before a long journey. Behave yourself. Be respectful to everyone you meet. You never know who you are talking to. She may not say, "You might meet a Drange in disguise," but the moral of those old stories, that kindness and respect to strangers are crucial, is passed on. The myth has become a proverb, a piece of ethical guidance.
And the Striga still haunts the edges of the imagination. If a person falls suddenly and inexplicably ill, an old neighbor might whisper, "Someone has given them the evil eye." The belief has been softened from a direct accusation of witchcraft to a more vague notion of negative energy. But the underlying idea that human malice can have a physical, harmful effect persists. It remains a way to try and make sense of suffering that seems senseless. These stories refuse to die because they are so perfectly adapted to the human psyche and to the landscape they were born from. They provide explanations for the unexplainable. They offer comfort in the face of fear. They teach moral lessons. They connect people to their past and to the land beneath their feet. They also survive because they are simply good stories. They are filled with drama, with beauty, with terror, and with heroism. They appeal to our fundamental love of narrative. A story about a hero fighting a dragon is infinitely more compelling than a meteorological explanation of a thunderstorm. The myths have become part of the Albanian identity. They are a source of pride, a unique cultural heritage that sets them apart. To know the stories of the Zana and the Drangue is to know something essential about what it means to be Albanian. The stories are woven into the poetry, the art, and the music of the nation. So the stories are not dead, they are sleeping, just as you are. They lie dormant in the language, in the proverbs, in the place names, and in the hearts of the people. They are waiting for a quiet moment, a fireside, a child's question, to be awakened and told once more.
They are a resilient, enduring presence, a testament to the power of a story to outlive empires, religions, and even the march of time itself. Let the thought of this quiet, stubborn survival be a final comforting thought. The stories are safe. The memories are kept. The past is not lost. It is just resting. And now you can rest too, joining the stories in their deep and peaceful slumber.
The eternal watch of the Balkans. Let your mind drift one last time over the Albanian landscape. The myths we have explored are not just stories about this land. They are stories that have grown out of this land. The land is the source, the inspiration, and the final guardian of every tale. Feel the wind as it blows through a high mountain pass. This is the same wind that was once believed to be the breath of the spirits. It is the same wind that carried the heroes' challenges and the Zana's songs. Even now, it seems to whisper the old names as it rustles through the pine trees. The wind remembers. Follow the path of a river as it flows from the mountains to the sea. This is the same water that was once the domain of a hidden goddess, the same water that was believed to have healing powers. It still carves the same valleys, still reflects the same moon. The river remembers. Look at the great gray stones of the mountains. They are silent, ancient, and unmoving. They have witnessed everything. They have seen the Illyrian tribes, the Roman legions, the Ottoman armies. They have seen the bonfires of pagan festivals and the building of Christian churches. They have stood silent guard over the sleeping Kushedra and the hidden homes of the Zana. They are the great silent witnesses to all of history and all of myth. The stones remember. The entire landscape is a library, and every feature is a book. The cycle of the seasons is the eternal story of death and rebirth. The storm is the story of conflict and resolution. The spring is the story of life and healing. The cave is the story of mystery and the unknown.
To live in this land is to be surrounded by these stories, whether you consciously know them or not. They are in the air you breathe, in the water you drink, in the ground you walk upon. The mythology of Albania is not something that can ever be fully lost, because it is an extension of the land itself. As long as the mountains stand, as long as the rivers flow, the spirit of these myths will endure. They are watching, and they are waiting. They are waiting for the quiet moments when the modern world falls away and a person can feel the ancient pulse of the earth. They are waiting for the storyteller who will give them voice once more. They are waiting for the child who will see a dragon in the clouds. And so, as our journey ends, we leave you here, in the eternal, watchful peace of the Balkan landscape. There are no more stories to tell tonight. There is only the profound silence of the mountains, the gentle murmur of the river, and the soft sigh of the wind. All is quiet. All is at peace. The land is keeping watch. And under its ancient protective gaze, you can finally let go and drift into a deep, safe, and profoundly restful sleep.